Well, hi, gang. Hey, I'm here with my bridge that I've been working on for the last couple weeks, and a couple things I want to show you in this video is obviously we built two different bridges. We built the left side and the right side, and then this video is how did I connect them together, and those are the little pieces that you see going between them. So I really had this great idea of how I was going to do that, and it did not work at all. And so I tried several different things, and I wish I could say, oh, here is the answer, but I think this is going to be about you being relatively creative. So I have my bridge here, and as you see, there's not very many pieces holding the left side and the right side together, but I did want to make sure everything lined up, and I want to make sure when I set the bridge down on the table, it sat flat and wasn't crooked, and so that's a little harder to do than you might think. So take a look at, this is my bridge picture, and as you can see, if you go from there to there, you can see they don't match exactly, and that's because I remember I said I'm going to give you guys all 2 more feet of balsa wood, so I added some vertical supports in there, and that's neither here nor there. But just make sure you get the 2 extra pieces when you come to school, because 12 feet just wasn't enough material, surprisingly. So that's my draft. What you're looking at here is I took the 2 sides of my bridge, and this is how I finally ended up gluing it together. Let's start down the very bottom. You'll notice that my draft is no longer on the cardboard. I took it off the cardboard because I noticed my cardboard had a little high spot in it, and I was afraid when I glued the 2 sides of the bridge together, if it had a high spot, that they wouldn't be standing straight up and down, that they'd be skewed out a little bit. And so I took the cardboard out and I taped the wax paper and the draft flat to the table. And the reason I put the draft underneath there is I wanted to make sure that the left side and the right side were lined up from end to end. And since I knew my draft was square and straight, I used that as a reference. But what I did first is I taped each side of the bridge to a piece of scrap wood that I had out in the shop. And I was going to use a textbook. You can use just about anything as long as it has a right angle on it so that the side of the bridge is standing straight up and down. That's looking straight down at you. You can see the left side and the right side. And once I got them where I wanted, I took those pieces that are in the bottom of the bridge closest to the paper right now, and I did the 2 on the very ends, the left and the right side. I stuck them in there with a little glue. I slid the 2 blocks together, and then there's a piece of tape that goes across the top of the whole thing, and that piece of tape is pulling the left and right sides together. And then I just took a couple little pieces on the top and stuck them in there to keep the sides parallel. And it was extremely difficult to do. It took me longer to figure out a way to get the 2 sides parallel and glued up than it did to make one side of the bridge. So you're going to have to put a little thought into this. You're going to have to put a little time and effort. Boy, if you had an extra set of hands, that would be super helpful. But as you can see here, I took a lot of pictures as I went, so you can kind of see how I did it. I don't think this is the best way. It's just the way I went about did it. And, you know, like I said, it seemed to have worked for me. Once I got some of the pieces in there and taped the ends of it to keep it nice and tight, I let it dry. And then after it was dry, I glued in the rest of the supports where I could pull it apart a little bit, put the piece of wood in, and then let it spring back together. And that's what I ended up with, is my bridge that looks something like that. So gluing the 2 sides together is more difficult than you might think. It takes a little bit more effort and time and thought before you start. I used the blue painter's tape to hold it in there, which was great because it was easy to take back off without breaking any of these little tiny pieces of balsa wood. And so that worked out pretty well. And so hopefully you won't have any problems getting your 2 bridge pieces glued together parallel, level, straight. But it takes a little time and a little effort. It's not a slap it together kind of thing. And so take your time. Be careful. Do a good job. All right. Hey, once you get your bridge all completely done and built, we'll collect these at school, we'll put them in the crusher, and we will see how much weight your bridge holds. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope this helped. See you on the next one.